Hey everybody, welcome back to the newly rebranded channel, Mr. Aura. Oh yeah. So today we're going to be talking about the Traitor Primarchs of the Horus Heresy in under 30 minutes, or I guess exactly 30 minutes for this video. So a little bit of a background on them. The Traitor Primarchs led the 9 Space Marine legions, and we'll be talking about their legions too. This is more of just like a analysis on the traitors of the Horus Heresy, but of course the thumbnail has the Primarchs with that wonderfully updated drawing. Gotta check it out. So, the traitor Primarchs were the 9 Primarchs, and the traitor legions were the 9 legions. They were led by 9 Primarchs. Technically 10, but we'll get into that a little bit later. Who betrayed the Emperor during the Horus Heresy, led by Horus, of course, and we'll get onto him first once we're done with this brief summary. They follow chaos now, some a lot more than others, because there's 4 deities. What, five? I want to say 5 non-deities. I could be incorrect on that, but I think that's about it. So they betrayed the Emperor all for their own reasons. A couple of them we don't really even know the reason. Two of them in specific, one if you kind of want to count that. And they all were very dissatisfied with the Emperor. They all didn't have, well, one was dissatisfied with the Emperor because he was like really proud of himself, I guess. But most of them had a good reason for disliking the Emperor. So they all betrayed him during the Horus Heresy in this huge civil war that eventually led to the near killing of the Emperor of Mankind, the fracturing of the Space Marine chapters, because there was 20, 18 got redacted, not 18. Two of them got redacted out of the 18, sorry. And these 9 left the Imperium. So, we are going to go ahead and first cover probably the most important of all of the traitor legions during the Horus Heresy. This is my opinion. You could fight for anybody else. You could fight for Iron Warriors. That'd be a good second for me. But we're going to go over Horus and the Sons of Horus, now known as the Black Legion. So, the reason Horus fell to chaos, and by the way, a little bit of background, Horus was the Emperor's favorite son. It was very surprising that he fell to chaos. Um, but the reason he fell to chaos is because not only were the gods heavily manipulating him, but he also held himself in such a prideful state that almost led him to kind of hold a disdain for the emperor because he believed himself to be better, I guess. But Horus was one of the most efficient Primarchs. You can argue that he was the strongest, though it's never been stated that he was. I believe Ferrus Manus was a bit stronger. But he was one of the strongest. He led one of the strongest chapters, the Sons of Horus, who were very loyal to Horus, originally known as the Luna Wolves before Horus came around. But when they betrayed the Imperium, they led they basically led all of the forces of chaos. Horus is a great leader, so this makes sense. Now, of course, you can argue Perturabo was also the main leader because he was kind of pulling the strings and everything. But we're talking about Horus right now, and we'll get to my opinions on Perturabo later. Um, Horus also killed Sanguinius, which and led to the almost killing of the Emperor of Mankind at the end of the Horus Heresy. So once the Siege of Terra happened, and the Siege of Terra was this whole event where the traitors had invaded Terra, the home planet of the Imperium. Um, so Horus's main feat was nearly killing the Emperor and killing Sanguinius. That was one of the most defining moments. Sanguinius was the most beloved of all of the Primarchs. And the Emperor of Mankind, of course, is the Emperor of Mankind. It's his father. People thought of him as a god, this immortal deity. But now the Emperor, Horus is super dead, by the way. He was eradicated. Like his soul is no longer present in the warp, but he's somehow less dead than Konrad Kurz, who we'll also get to later. And Horus, this wounding of the Emperor of Mankind just led to him, like, led to the whole disarray of the Imperium. It led to the Golden Throne having to be used by the Emperor. Originally, it's theoried that Magnus would be on it, but that's just a theory. Um, but now the Emperor has to sit on the throne because the moment he dies and the moment he gets off of it, all of those demons will come back to Terra and destroy the place. So it's really important that Horus, I guess to the traitors, it's really important that Horus did what he did because it led to the eventual doom of the Imperium. There's no chance of the Imperium winning anymore because the Emperor will eventually die and Terra will eventually be destroyed. Now, the Black Legion, renamed after Horus died, is led by Abaddon. Abaddon's done a whole bunch of stuff recently with the whole 14th Black Crusade, destruction of Terra, opening of the Eye of Terra, and the Imperium. What is it? The Imperium Nihilis? Nihilus? Something like that. Um, but Abaddon is basically just Horus's successor. He was one of Horus's kind of like highest in command, and he is efficient. He does not want to serve the dark gods in any way. He just does what he wants to do. Yeah, the Sons of Horus, by the way, are a non-chaos divided legion. But I guess Abaddon's really important right now. I mean, he's basically doing what Horus started and trying to finish that off. Now, it did take him 14 Black Crusades to even get to Cadia, but he poses a very big threat to the Imperium because of how efficient he is. I mean, he just gets stuff done. Now, I guess we could focus a little bit on the Legion real quick before we switch over to our next subject. So Legion been through three changes: Luna Wolves, White and Red before Horus. Then they had the Sons of Horus phase, and now they're the Black Legion. Alrighty, on to the Iron Warriors. Not a big fan of the Iron Warriors. This is going to be a short segment. Perturabo, I just don't like him. He's efficient, I'll give him that. He gets his shit done. But I just don't like. I feel like his attitude ruins the entire concept of the Iron Warriors for me. And I love what they do. I love all of the war machines and siege engines that they have. But for Trabo and the whole kind of Legion's just attitude in general just pulls me away from liking the Iron Warriors. It's just to the point where I would like to like them, but I can't. But the Iron Warriors, they were the real get shit dones during the Horus Heresy. Of course, they have some new models now, but I can't really talk much on them just because I've never really gotten into the lore because of how much I dislike them. Alrighty, on to one that a buddy of mine likes. Hello, Gage. The World Eaters, led by Angron. Angron is very angry, if you couldn't tell, which is surprising because it's rumored, he has potential to have been the kind Primarch, but the butcher nails in his head that were placed in kind of stop that, and it makes him just this whole big ball of angriness. He has a very sad backstory. All of his friends were genocided, and he was forced to leave his planet, and he was going to betray the Emperor anyway, even before Lorgar and Horus came to him. Um, but let's talk about their Horus Heresy contribution. They were the main kind of shock troopers, the boots on the ground people. They're the first to get into the Imperial Palace. I believe Angron was the first demon Primarch. I guess you could count Fulgrim in his kind of like half demon state, but I feel like Angron was the first proper demon Primarch. Angron was killed by Sanguinius. I believe he came back. I mean, we know he came back. I believe he came back at some point during the Horus Heresy, though. And now in 40k, he's a big ball of demon Primarch angriness. His chapter, the World Eaters, serve the blood god Khorne. They are a whole bunch of just rage, blood for the blood god, skulls for the skull throne, all of that good stuff. Some notable characters is Karn, who fought Sigismund, did not win, but he has won against many other notable figures, such as he almost killed what's his name, Erebus, which is good, even though I like the word bears, which we'll get to the word bears later on. I like them. Not a lot of people do because of Erebus. Um, but the World Eaters, I'm actually pretty big fan of. I think they're just cool. They're angry all the time. They're bloodthirsted, angry warriors made of pure muscle and rage. Alrighty, guess we'll go ahead and do Emperor's Children next, led by Fulgrim. These guys worship the god of Slanesh, not the god of Slanesh, the chaos god Slanesh, the god of pleasantries, the god of all that, of overindulgence, of I guess, yeah, pleasure. That's mainly what they are, pleasure. So they're led by Fulgrim. Fulgrim turned into a traitor Primarch because of the sword he wields. That was some kind of like artifact of Slanesh that corrupted him. And his main penultimate point that he did during the Horus Heresy was kill the potential goat Ferrus Manus, Primarch of the Iron Hands. If I do a loyalist Primarch, I'll cover him. Um, that was their main thing. They were kind of similar to the World Eaters, to where I'm pretty sure they served as shock troops as well. They got in all sorts of pleasantries during the Siege of Terra, but their main thing that they were more of a kind of to start the Horus Heresy. The Horus Heresy started on Isstvan 5, but it began once Ferrus Manus got killed. That's how I see it almost. But the Emperor's Children, I mean, if you're into all that freaky stuff, you'll like them. They love skinning people while doing actions I can't state on here. They love doing space coke. They love all that stuff. And they wear a lot of pink. So if you like pink, this is your legion. Alrighty. Now we'll go ahead and cover my personal favorite, the Death Guard. So, let's start with Mortarion. Mortarion was raised on the planet Barbarus by Xenos overlords. He tried to rebel against them. Oh, he also kind of just like landed on, well, all of them were born on Terra. He landed on Barbarus. Xenos took him in, Xenos raised him. But he really was dissatisfied with their rule because he was more on the people's side. He was a people's man. Um, so he rebelled against them, didn't work. And the Emperor shows up, um, and tries to help him out, but he doesn't want it. So he rebels against his father again, but he almost dies. And while he's almost dying, the Emperor shows up in his true glory, defeats Xenos overlords, takes Mortarion in. Mortarion was very angry about this, though, because his people now respected the Emperor more for saving them than himself. Uh, Mortarion then would go on to be in the Horus Heresy on the traitor side. He was surprisingly hard to convince, too. But he led the Death Guard. The Death Guard were betrayed by, I guess it's their first captain. Probably is. I don't really know his role. Typhus, now known not Typhon, Callus Typhon, now known as Typhus, um, who betrayed them to get the Destroyer Hive into them. And this Destroyer Hive would have killed the entire Legion if Mortarion decided not to give in to Nurgle, but Mortarion did give in to Nurgle to save himself. The Destroyer Hive isn't gone, by the way. It's still in them. Um, and then I think they showed up near the end of the Siege of Terra. They were a little bit late to the party. Mortarion fought Jagged Khan, almost killed him, got banished away. I'm not sure if Mortarion got killed and then revived. I'm not really sure on that. But now he leads all the stinky poo poo Death Guard guys. Um, so they serve under the god Nurgle, the chaos god of pestilence, decay, who's also all chaos gods have an equivalent. Nurgle is the equivalent of the god of life. Slanesh is the equivalent of the god of love. Angron, I don't know. Um, but they recently, in the past, I don't know, 15 years of lore, which is about as old as uh what was I saying? I'm sorry, guys. Um, so Mortarion invaded the Ultramar system, almost killed Gilliman. Gilliman was possessed by the Emperor. Mortarion got his ass whooped, went home. He is now present back though after beating up the Iron Warriors in the War of Iron and Rust. Um, which is the most recent thing he's done, I believe. But I really do hope Mortarion gets more of a role in 40K. Of course, he's been one of the more influential Primarchs so far, but I love my Death Guard. If you like all that stinky poo-poo stuff and body horror, then this is for you. Alrighty, now coming up to the last of the deity legions, we have the Thousand Suns, led by Magnus, whose home planet is Prospero. I know a little bit of Thousand Suns lore, not as much as my Death Guard lore though. Um, they are all real big psyker guys. Magnus is one of the strongest sorcerers of the setting. Not the strongest, that would go to the Emperor, of course. But Magnus, he's kind of like a scholar, not more of like a warrior Primarch. And that's what the Thousand Suns were too. But unfortunately, the flesh change incited by Tzeentch, of course, because Tzeentch, by the way, is the god of change, the chaos god of change. As his main thing. His equivalent is the chaos god of knowledge. But he is all just that weird change, all of the tentacles, all the squids, all that stuff. But they went under the flesh change. Um, a sorcerer named Ahriman, who is one of my favorite characters in the setting, tried to stop this, failed horribly, and changed them into dust in the rubricate, um, which changed almost all of them into dust. I guess you could say the high sorcerers were not changed to dust, but the normal like Marines, now known as rubric Marines. Yeah, they're a big old pile of dust. So Thousand Suns don't have many numbers. They have Thousand Suns. Probably less than that, honestly. But they serve underneath Tzeentch. During the Horus Heresy, they were attacked by the Space Wolves, ordered by Horus as a distraction to get the Space Wolves off of Terra because they were so dangerous. The Space Wolves are basically just the butchers of Space Marines, which also used to be the Dark Angels role. But other than that, yeah, Prospero was burned down by the Space Wolves, and in a last-ditch effort to not only keep his sons but fight for his people, I guess his Marines, his sons, Magnus turned to Tzeentch, which makes him now the Demon Primarch of Tzeentch. Um, so now they used to be red and white and gold in this really gorgeous color scheme in 30K. Now they are just all of your sorcerer marines. I mean, if you like space marines that are super duper psychic, these are your guys. And there's a few chapters who are rumored to be descendants of the successors of the Thousand Sons using their gene seed. Like people think that Grey Knights might use them, even though I find that's highly unlikely. People think that Blood Ravens might use that, even though I find that's very likely. Um, but yeah, I mean, Thousand Sons are just your sorcerer marines. So that's really what they are. Alrighty, on to word bearers and my boy Lorgar. Lorgar, in my opinion, probably had the most reasonable crash out of all the Chaos Primarchs. So, the reason he turned to Chaos, he worshipped the Emperor as a god. His planet had some very, I guess, chaos. I guess their background was of chaos. There used to be a bunch of chaos worshippers on there before Lorgar came around. But he worshipped the Emperor as a god. I mean, who wouldn't? Also, the Adeptus Sororitas are right there, Big E. Um, he worshipped the Emperor as a god. I've said this so many times. The Emperor is a hardcore atheist, so he did not like that. He came over with Rabude Gilman, the Primarch of the Ultramarines, said, "Hey Lorgar, I don't like you worshipping as a god. I'm gonna burn this city to the ground, like dang Omni-Man, while you kneel to me." Lorgar said, "No way, I'm not gonna let you do that." Then he was psychically forced to kneel to the Emperor and I guess just be scolded while his city was being burnt to the ground by Rabude. So I'd say that's a very reasonable crash out. Um, Lorgar and the Word Bearers are the most zealous of all of the Firstborns, maybe even more than the Black Templars. Um, I'd say so, honestly. But yeah, what's the word? They they really like worshiping stuff. So once they realized, hey, I can't worship the emperor, this made Erebus, who was already practicing chaos worship while they're doing their stuff, angry. He got upset at this. And eventually convinced Lorgar to start worshiping chaos, who convinced Horus, and that kicks off the whole Horus heresy. I don't believe they did much other than kick off the Horus heresy. I know they were present, and Lorgar right now, even though he's one of my favorite Primarchs, is pissing his pants because Corvus Corax, the absolute goat, is chasing after him in the modern setting. Though I believe Lorgar got out of his little hidey hole and is now present in some way. He's a demon Primarch as well. He ascended. Um, but Lorgar is still alive. His word bearers are still there. They love all the demons. They love possess. They love demons. They love masters of possession. Um, so really, if you like zealous Marines that are spiky, then get into the word bearers. Alrighty, up next we have the people who never got over the gender bent Primarchs, the Night Lords and Konrad Kurz. I'm just kidding for all you Night Lord fans out there. But Konrad Kurz, I don't know much about, except that his main theme of Primarch is that he had such a big sense of judgment, not judgment, justice, that it just ended up getting corrupted. He did horrible things to get that sense of justice, but it also ended up working. The main reason he turned to chaos is because I believe he was told specifically to do terror tactics. Once people figured out he was doing terror tactics, nobody liked him. And this sense of justice kind of made him see the Emperor as the villain. So, this guy's kind of like the Punisher in a way. Um, so he betrayed them. Also, Konrad Kurz right now is very dead. He got beheaded by an Imperial assassin. Um, which is unfortunate to all you Night Lord fans out there, but at the same time, the Night Lord legions themselves weren't really even loyal to Konraz. They were more loyal to, I guess, the love of skinning children. Um, I'm not really too educated on Night Lords. I'm kind of LARPing as a whole with this video. Um, but I just think it would just be fun to make. So, the Night Lords, their main thing is terror tactics. They are the terrorists. They skid people, burn people alive, do horrible things, put them up for display, and say, if you do not conform, this will keep happening to you. And to be frank, they are insanely efficient at it. So if you like this, then the Night Lords are for you. And also, they have a lot of freedom with painting because all the skin and the blood that they wear, and the skulls. Alrighty, now we have the confusing one, and one I really, really enjoy, and I painted up some models for. We got the Alpha Legion, led by two people. Or maybe it's one person. We don't know. So, they're led by Alpharius and Omegon, who have very unique names, as you've heard. Um, Alpharius Omegon, maybe. We don't know. We know nothing about the Alpha Legion. I'm not even sure if they're technically even considered Chaos. I just know that they're a bad guy. So, they're an undivided legion. We know Alpharius is dead. Alpharius got beheaded by Rogaldorn during that battle on Pluto. Um, but the Alpha Legion are confusing. They are the espionage of the espionage, so more than the Raven Guard, unfortunately, because I also love the Raven Guard. Um, so they have the unique thing to where all of the Marines, almost all of the Marines in 30K, not 40K, went under genetic surgery to look like Alpharius. Um, which makes them big and Alpharius very small. And other than that, they could change the color of their armor with, I guess it's called Omegon's Wrath, whatever that is. And they are confusing because all of them are Alpharius and none of them are Alpharius. That's kind of the whole joke with them. Alrighty, so we are going to end off here right before we hit the 25-minute mark. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll make sure to keep up the high quality videos or my quality videos. Um, so you guys can learn more about Warhammer and enjoy it. And I will see y'all stalling for time